Hashtag I'm from Denver podcast. And so one of the things about the network that is just awesome, Larry Ulibarri and Jake Salazar, is that the community on there grew up in Denver, grew up in Colorado. So when we throw up nostalgia pics or we throw up like a trail dust picture of like someone going down the slide, the reaction to that is just great. It's almost the reaction you got every morning on the KS175 morning show, Larry, but it was like people just freak out over that.
Right. No. I mean, like, I think that as you get older, you just get these nostalgic feels for the past. And that's why those things hit so hard. And the city's changing constantly, and it's almost sometimes unrecognizable. So when you see something that gives you a flashback to when things were, different or old school, whatever. Yeah, it definitely hits hard.
I think the older you get, the more sentimental you get. I mean, frankly, that's just kind of how it goes. And when that song hits you in the car, or that movie clip that you haven't seen in a minute catches back up to you, or, I mean, just having a brisk conversation with Larry Ulibarri and you're going, oh my God, like there's a voice I haven't heard for a minute. Like, it's so good to hear that. Like,
well, it's funny.
It's like, I mean, I bet it could bring somebody to tears almost.
I was guesting on the Denver Foos, a group of guys that have a social media presence in town. And we were talking on air with them. And the one thing that, like, one impression that I do that brings everybody back to that moment is the guy that talked like this. KS 1075, back in the day cafe.
Yeah, who was that guy?
He was just a voiceover guy. And he was really, like, obviously very different. And so, like, you could, if you traveled around the country, sometimes you'd hear him in other cities.
Okay.
Like, he was the voice in Hawaii and some
I
station.
have all of that audio. I literally was trying to get that to play because I just heard him on a sweeper saying the exact same thing.
Right, back in the day cafe.
Going to find out how to work all this stuff, and we're going to have that for you.
Right, exactly. But I mean, that
it's
guy
not gonna make sense for the episode, but it's going to be cool. Don't even worry.
That
Let's
guy,
talk
like,
about it.
For what it's worth, like, he did have a crazy, very distinctive sound. But when I was in the room with him while he was recording, the guy was amazing. Like, he had every ounce of, like, a trailer movie guy like this. He had that same quality. So when he did his voiceover stuff, he'd be like, back in the day cafe. It was real guttural. Like with Larry, Kendall, and Kathy. Go with the morning show to Universal Studios.
So did he have like a studio in his house, or was he coming?
Oh, yeah.
He'd like, or he'd fly into like Denver.
No.
He'd do that.
He would do it out of his studio at home. But once in a while, like, he would come into town.
He was doing that in the 90s. So like, this dude had a studio in his house in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
He was like a rock star, man.
He was the guy.
Yeah.
Larry, when I hear your movie guy voice, all I remember is 777 film. Do you remember calling the phone?
Thank you for calling movie phone.
Yeah.
It would go like this. Hello, and thank you for calling movie phone.
Yeah.
Brought to you by KS 1075 and Jiffy peanut butter.
And then the trailer would play.
In a movie, in a time, in a city, he was a man in a world, in a time.
Well,
and then,
I mean, talking about throwbacks, so like what? I mean, the ultimate throwback for me, which is funny, Jared, because you brought this up.
WIGNZ.
On our last episode, WIGNZ, on our last episode, was the fact that you work at Waterworld.
Yeah.
You worked at Waterworld. Now, like, to me, rolling back into Waterworld, especially now having kids, is like a full-on throwback. I get into the parking lot, and immediately I am, like, transported back to my childhood.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get so excited. I'm like, and I'm more excited just to see the look on my kids' faces when they see all the stuff that's going to go on in there. Like,
and it's so different now from what it was. The rides that they have are so crazy. Yeah,
it's legit.
Yeah. What was the restaurant on the side, east side or west side of I-25? And it looked
what you're talking.
It had like
you're talking about the chili. You're talking about the chili pepper. You're talking about
where on I-25?
Like across from
Spear,
the
children's
across from Illich's, where Illich's is now.
Exactly.
And so there used to be the chili pepper, and then there was another.
Talking about La Loma?
No. These are literally they face the freeway,
and it almost looked like a mine shaft. Yeah.
Right. So you have to remember one of them.
Yep.
That's like where the stadium was.
Yeah. It literally faces where Illich's is, and now it's just like fancy
the Highlands.
condos,
it's like Highlands and restaurant. Yeah. Oh man, gosh, I want to say Baby Doe's. I don't think that's right.
No. Baby Doe's is off of Sims.
It looked like a big, like almost like a deck, like a big patio.
Yes.
God, what was that?
I'm telling you, it's called the
Guys,
chili
Denver,
pepper.
What was it called? Denver.
The chili
We're asking
pepper.
you. We need to know. Inquiring minds need to know. Do you remember
I'm
that?
telling you, it was called the chili pepper.
I don't know. Does Larry have it right? I don't know.
But there was two restaurants there. because there was one attached, so there was another restaurant there. But yeah, those were like there forever.
Oh man, yeah, I don't.
I actually do remember that now. God, wow, I haven't thought about that in a minute.
Well,
Yeah, but
yeah.
No, I was saying La Loma was a little bit farther back.
Yeah.
La Loma
You couldn't
was
see
like
that from the
famous.
highway, yeah.
Right.
It was Baby Doe's. That's what it was called. It was like I have the picture of it right here, and I can let me share.
Okay,
the screen.
Baby Doe's. Wasn't it, there was? I thought Baby Doe's was at 6th and Sims, but I could be wrong.
No, it was this.
Oh yeah,
Remember?
there you go.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
God,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
That's-
I don't know if
oh,
there's a bunch of.
It was very dark in there. It was like when you go to what was that steak, a Black Angus? There was these restaurants that just decided to make it super dark, so you couldn't even find your way back to your table. You're like, these aren't the people I was sitting with.
Which did either of you guys ever go to Dick's Last Resort?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Why
That was
do
a
I
place
remember
that was
that?
like.
What was that? Why
that
was
was
it-
a place-
Remember, so Beta was down on. It's down on like 19th or was down on like 19th, and was it Blake or Wazzy right there?
Okay.
Yeah, it was one
And
of those
Dick's Last
places.
Resort used to be in that building. It was a
Right.
place where servers are basically allowed to talk shit to you.
That was their whole gig, was to be like rude to you.
Yeah.
A lot. I remember there was like a trend with that. With like, I remember even Gunther Tooties for a while was like, well, we're going to be rude to you and, you know,
Okay.
eat some of your
I
fries.
was like that always in Gunther 2D.
I worked at Gunther Tooties. That was my first like restaurant job, and I quit it. And so like one of the things that happened was like I worked it, and I was like, this is weird. Everyone acted like they were in the 50s. That was a busboy. They wouldn't let you carry trays, right? And I remember this specifically because this is my first like rebellion at a job where I was like, that's stupid. And so I was like, why don't we have trays here? My life would be so much easier than carrying all these plates one by one back to the kitchen if we had trays. And the manager said, they didn't have trays in the 50s. And I go, well, they changed their mind when they realized that was a stupid idea.
They also
I'm
didn't
pretty
have-
sure
they
they
also
had
didn't have
trays.
color TV. That seems to work for everyone.
And so they there was like a Levi policy, and I had my first check, and I went to buy clothes, and I was like, I'm not gonna buy these Levi's. Who would wear these Levi's? It was like the super tight, like 50s like jeans. And so I bought Lee's.
Every kid right now would wear that, by the way.
Every kid would wear those.
Yeah.
I wore the Lee's in, and they said that I had to go home to change my jeans, and I never came back. I never went back to that job. Gunther Tooties was like the worst job ever.
Worst. Okay. All right.
But the food was all right for a minute. I mean, there was a bunch of
It was.
locations. I think there might even be like one left. I'm not
There
sure.
is actually there's one right by where down in Littleton.
And Thornton
Yeah.
still.
Do you guys remember before there was like, you know, because now they have all these food halls, and you know, back when we were younger, it was called a food court.
Yeah.
But now it's a food hall, which is kind of cool. I mean, like,
Or food court was in the mall.
right,
Yeah.
sure.
The
But I
only
mean,
one
was
in Colorado
one
still is Park Meadows because that place is packed.
Oh,
every
still.
weekend. It is. I'm telling you, like people say the malls in the United States are dead. Not that mall. Park Meadows
Really?
Mall is. If you lived out, you guys. I mean, I know I live down south, so you guys don't.
Yeah, it's
But
totally different.
I am telling you, that place is on fire every
Wow.
weekend. Like you can't get a seat at any of the restaurants around
That's
there.
crazy.
Did you
That's
ever go to the
nice.
Westminster Mall? Like Larry, I knew you
Absolutely.
grew up in Sheridan, and so how often did you go to the Westminster Mall? The one with those
Westminster Mall,
balloons.
that was my jam, and that was also we would cruise around the mall. So you just cruise
88
around the
foot
mall,
wads, baby. Gotta
right?
cruise the
Blaring your
loop.
music.
Cruise the loop.
Uh-huh.
Oh no, but
and
Larry's talking about walking around the mall, or are you talking about the drive around the mall?
Driving
The
around
loop.
the mall,
Yeah,
yeah.
the loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. That's where I had my first like cocktail, like with my friends. Like they were like, my sister was dating a guy, and they were all partying, and they were like, "Hey, you know, do you want to have a drink?" And I was super religious, and this whole religion had set me up for this whole moment. They're like, someday somebody's going to ask you if you want a drink.
I don't
And I
think
was like-
everybody on here knows that you were Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, well, yeah, I was raised super religious. So they were like, oh my gosh, you know, this moment's going to come where they ask you if you want a drink. So they were like, do you want a drink? And I was like, no.
Yes.
And then I was like, and then about 5 minutes later, I was like, what the hell? Let me just try one.
What was it? Do you remember? What did you have?
I'm pretty sure it was probably a rum and Coke or something like that.
Like Captain Morgan, like spice rum, or just
Maybe.
like Bacardi?
It was pretty exciting because I was like, okay, so this is what that feels like. All right, I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ours was Mad Dog 2020. That was the first drink.
That was your first drink?
That was the first drink.
Okay.
Yeah.
My first drink was not, I don't think it was as cool as y'all's. It was like raiding my mom's liquor cabinet. So my parents had separated, and my mom and I were living in a house in Louisville, kind of by Louisville Elementary School. And the family next door is a great family, the Trevino family. And the oldest daughter had some friends over. and I had my buddy Mike Johnson over, and they came over. They had a couple drinks, and like literally my mom was gone, and we like raided the liquor cabinet, had no idea what we were doing. So we had like vodka and whiskey and like orange juice.
Oh
all
my
put
god! Oh my god! We
Yeah.
did something
That's
similar to that.
destined to throw up.
And I'm like, I look back on that now and I'm like, but like
Yeah.
you drank it because you didn't want to go in front of the pretty girls that were living next door. You know?
When we all started being able to go to the clubs and stuff, it was like so many different nightclubs. We have the church.
Rock Island,
Yeah.
16 and up.
Right.
Baby.
Remember,
Yeah.
there was also like a bunch of clubs in Glendale, I think. For a while, there was nightclubs in Glendale, like by Shotgun. I mean, by Shotgun.
What were they like? So
That's not Glendale.
Back then. Yeah, that is Glendale.
That is
Yeah,
Glendale. Shotgun
yeah,
Woods is Glendale. Oh,
That's
okay.
weird. Yeah, Mike Donovan is like the mayor of Glendale, and he like runs that town. Like because he owns Shotguns, which is like the biggest income producer in the like square block radius that Shotguns dwells in. Yeah, dude, Mike
Right.
Donovan is, and the Donovan family are not to be messed with in Glendale, bro. That guy's the man. Mike, love you, bro.
Shout out.
Have many good times there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in Denver. Well, it's crazy because it's like even if you throw up the pictures on I'm from Denver of like a time that even was before us of like 16th Street or even the state capitol is like one of the lone buildings out here. It's crazy to see how much we've actually developed. And I know it sucks because everything gets political and but it's like the city and the city of Denver, but the state has evolved and gotten so big.
Well, you
so
remember
fast.
what it
It's
was when we
crazy.
were growing up. It was like, come visit Colorado and stay. Like,
And
I
then
was
they
like,
did.
we don't have enough people living here. And then everybody came and they were like, oh,
Build
shit.
it, and they
Yeah.
will come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're like, hold on, man. Turn it off for a minute. We got to catch up. Our highways aren't big enough. We don't have enough police.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you look at it now, and like the way that these cranes and they're building these huge condos and apartments, and so I still feel that there must be mass migration to Denver because who else is going to live in these giant high rises that are popping up every 5 feet?
Well, and the only thing that I got a down part about that, but I think it's actually pretty great. But I have a question for both of you. Now, I know we're all from Denver. Did either of you guys ever go to Celebrity Sports Center?
Oh yeah,
Who remembers that?
I remember that. That was like the first place that you could kind of do everything. They had video games, they
Yeah.
had swimming, they had bowling, water slides.
It was like the scene out of Karate Kid, right? Where there's like the water slides in the arcade. Did Jared?
Yeah.
I know you. So, guys, if you guys don't know,
Jared-
Wiggs, producer Wiggs over here, is a little bit younger than Larry and I.
He might have missed the
Might have
Celebrity
missed-
Sports
I look,
Center window.
I look 20 years younger, but I'm only a few years younger.
No, but I mean, like Wiggins is more of a Boondocks guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with the
you
Boondocks.
probably
Yeah,
did
yeah.
Boondocks. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny. We just launched an article on imfromdenver.com about it and about Celebrity Sports Center. It was a massive family-oriented fun center featuring bowling, go-karting, miniature golf, water
Wow.
slides, arcade, and even a restaurant. It was originally called Celebrity Lanes and was backed by celebrities like Walt Disney, Ben Crosby, and Jack Benny. The center
No
was
kidding. So it was backed by celebrities. Okay, that's why it was Celebrity Sports Center. Got it.
The center was a major landmark in Denver for decades, but it eventually closed in 1994 due to rising costs and changing demographics. Enjoy the photos below. And so we have some photos on imfromdenver.com of it.
Yeah, that whole area on Colorado Boulevard.
And
I
if they
think
had
it was.
just stuck that out, that place would be a freaking landmark. I mean, think
Yeah.
about what you got now, right? You have Boondocks. It's not like these places went away.
No,
They-
for sure.
They have all these trampoline places now for kids. They have the, all the
Inflatable
arcade,
World.
Volcano Lava place or whatever over there in Aurora. They got the, oh man, there's a place in Littleton that I mean,
They're everywhere.
so there
At
was
the
Celebrity
time-
Sports Center, but for those of you guys that live down in Littleton, there was also Funplex.
I remember
Funplex.
Funplex.
Funplex was awesome. The only thing Funplex didn't have, I think, was the pools, right? They didn't have the
Right.
What was
The
the
games
arcade
was-
place? Broadway? Was there something in
no,
Broadway?
Boardwalk USA.
Boardwalk. That's what
Boardwalk
it was.
USA was on point, right next to Casa Bonita.
Larry, were
Oh,
you
yeah.
allowed or not allowed to do certain things like that because being a Jehovah's Witness, like Celebrity Fun Center, like were you restricted to things like that? Like,
I mean, like the
They're
thing
like,
is,
we don't
were,
believe in arcade games.
no, we were super sheltered in the sense that, like, in that religion in particular, they kind of don't really want you hanging around other people that aren't JWs. So it's kind of like we didn't really hang with a lot of our cousins and family that did stuff like that because they weren't of our faith. And so, yeah, there was a little bit of that, but I mean, like, mostly it was excluding holidays and Christmas.
So yeah, I mean, birthdays would be his celebrity funplex or fun
no,
center.
no, no, yeah, for sure. We would definitely we could go
They just
there and
weren't allowed to
bowl,
talk to other
just
kids
not
while they
on
were
somebody's
there.
birthday, right?
Yeah.
But
But
you
I
did
mean-
tell me a cool story the other day, Larry. It was about, so Larry's dad used to own the jewelry shop at Heritage Square, which another amazing landmark, and so many cool
Sure.
stories there. I'm sure so many people from Colorado remember that place.
Yeah,
But the Alpine slide, the bungee jumping, it was all there. The old tummy pictures. But his dad actually owned the jewelry store in there. But considering you guys were Jehovah's Witnesses, there came a point in your guys' life where every day, almost on the way home from work, your dad would stop and buy you a roller coaster ride at Lakeside.
right?
It
No,
was
no.
like the coolest thing ever. Like,
No, like, here's the thing. My dad was not of the JW faith.
Okay.
So I kind of grew up with some, like, my mom was like, he definitely like let her pick the religion, and that religion, you go to church 3 times a week, you knock on people's houses. So
I was
very
raised
intense.
super Protestant.
Right.
It was a
right.
Assembly of God. So I was in church 3-4 nights a week.
Right.
Yeah, I
so
get
you
it.
know what that's like. So my dad would, like, run interference a little bit and try to give us a little bit of normalcy. But when we would we lived on 98th and Sheridan, the jewelry store was in Golden. So we would basically go I-70 to Sheridan and Sheridan down. Well, that's exactly where Lakeside is.
Right there. Yeah.
And my dad would say, hey, he would look at all of us and he'd go, one time on the roller coaster. And we'd be like, what? He's all, we're going into Lakeside and we're only going to ride the roller coaster one time and then we're going home. And back in the day, you could literally just pay to get in, buy one ride.
Yeah.
And then we would just go, like, we'd be working all day at Heritage Square and then we'd go, and then we'd get off and get back in the car and drive home. And we were all, wow, that was really intense.
That was the greatest thing ever.
Right.
I remember the new Elitch's opening because it was like there was the old Elitch's and then the new Elitch's, and so that was like, it's funny because so not to date
Elitch's and Lakeside used to be like right by each other.
And then they moved it to where it is now. And the first time here's what's funny is the first time I saw Larry, Kendall, and Kathy, was like your guys' first year as a show. You guys were at Elitch's when my, I think, middle school graduation ceremony was happening there. And so I just remember seeing you guys just hanging
I did my
out.
middle school graduation at Elitch's. That's funny.
Dude. And so I just remember you guys being there and thinking, wow, this is their job. And I was like, I want to do that. And I never thought about it again. And so I just think it's funny because I remember the first time having to do a remote, which is like the station going to make an appearance somewhere.
That was the first time I met both of you. I was like, this is their job.
It is super weird when you're like, we're just hanging out. And you're like looking at the clock being like, when do I get out of here? Like,
right. No, for
It's
sure.
Promo. And you guys are like, this is what we do.
We're at work. Well, this day'd be over.
I remember, like, well, and the fact that they're now going to take Illich's and move it again, which is crazy. And I'm wondering, I'm sitting there looking, like, when you have that wooden roller coaster, that big white coaster,
Mr. Twister.
Do you take that down and try to, like, save all the bars and go, okay, let's label these B's because we have to reassemble this?
I think they
out
totally
by
do.
DIA.
I think that's
Totally.
I actually think that's exactly what they do.
exactly what
That's
they do.
insane. That's insane.
Or they make a replica. But
right. What's cheaper, to
wooden
move it or
wooden roller coasters are
in demand?
Legal.
Well,
No, you know what?
You have to think about it because that thing's actually been shut down for a couple of years now, I think. So
Right.
like the wear and tear, like you start building things out of wood, you start getting termite damage. You start getting like
weather damage.
Yeah, like I don't know much about roller coasters, but I know something about foundations and houses, and like what eventually starts happening when things like weather happens to wood.
Right.
And it's not great.
In Disneyland in California Adventure, they have what looks like a wooden roller coaster. It looks almost like that one, but it's metal, and it is like the best roller coaster you've ever been on. It doesn't jerk your head. It doesn't hurt at all. Once you get off the Incredicoaster, you're just like, okay,
Where is this, like
insane.
Disneyland in California?
Yeah, in California Adventure.
That would require me going to California.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is I'm excited for the podcast. I'm excited for us to talk about everything that was Colorado and Denver, what is Colorado and Denver. But I really do, and I've brought it up before, it's like I want to bring in these people who made Denver what it was back in the day. Like they still got to be out there. I mean, I think it would be cool. I mean, I know he's up there in the years, but I mean, could you imagine getting Jake Jabs on here or Dylan Doug? Like I just would want to talk
Tom
to him.
Shane
Or
from
Tom
the
Shane,
Shane
yeah,
Company.
like any of
Direct
those
diamond
legends.
We could definitely get
importers,
Dylan Doug. I don't know about the other ones. I know Dylan Doug.
Oh, you do? Okay, I met him.
Yeah.
We can definitely get Doug Moreland on here. He's a good guy. He's a very nice guy.
You know what's
And
funny
he's
is
all about promotion. So I don't.
no,
think
he is.
I'm friends with his son.
I saw my Brandon. So Brandon's a good dude. I used to live next door to him. Good dude.
Well, it's so funny because Dylan Doug, he only did advertising on his radio stations, and I was one of the only guys, and I was just a producer at the time, and the salesperson did not like that. But remember, Larry, I brought on Dylan Doug to be advertising on our station, and they were like, normally he doesn't do this, but he was awesome on our station.
For years, I had tickets for the Rockies at the Coors Clubhouse, which is right behind home plate, the first 5 rows behind home plate. And you come in every day, and they have an amazing buffet and awesome drinks. I think I showed you guys. I showed you that, Jared. You saw it. And Doug Moreland used to sit. So we used to sit in the 3rd row. He used to sit in the 2nd row, literally in the seats right in front of us for 15 years.
You're all, whoa, look at all those rings on his fingers.
You get over the rings and you realize that he's.
No, I'm just saying, like, he's obviously wealthy.
Well, I think he has one for every dealership that he has.
Oh, that's crazy.
I think that was kind of the deal, but he's a brilliant businessman.
I think it's so funny because the rings are like with people like that. And Larry, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have thought things about you or heard rumors. There's like legendary status. You're amongst the same type of status as Dylan Doug and all that.
Thanks.
There's like notoriety of just like knowing you and people grew up with you.
What are you saying? These rumors that people are hearing
what
about
I'm saying, the rumors were like, I heard the rumors that it's like Dylan Doug had that because he was an ex-con and they covered up
his
all
tattoos.
They covered up all tattoos.
Is
that real?
That's hilarious.
Okay. See, that's what I remember. But it's like you just hear these urban legends. Yeah.
But I will tell you this though, like, so of all those guys like that, all those companies that we grew up with, like, we had Dylan Doug's, we had Rocky's Auto, and obviously we had Champ. Of all of those, the next generation that really took the reins has to be Champ, right? I mean, Champ had been around for generations, and 100%. Aaron Wallace, who's Lisa Champ's son and Mark Wallace's son, now is the president of that organization and has taken it like national.
Yeah.
I mean, take it from 2 or 3 dealerships to 18 dealerships and now being on Amazon. They're literally the company, the software that they develop that Amazon is paying them for to be, selling cars on Amazon, which is a Colorado company.
Yeah, that is so cool.
It's a 3rd generation, Colorado company. And these guys, you love to hear a story like that, like, because you get the money, you want to just sell it, right? And they say, okay, you know what? I inherited it. I'm going to sell it. That's fine. I'm going to go do something else. Great. It's a free country. You're allowed to do that. When you see somebody that really just takes the bull by the horns and is like, hey, I'm going to make this.
And then they come from Colorado. Yeah. Brand. If there was like that one person from Colorado that you probably maybe you've already talked to, or maybe you'd want to interview again, is there someone that you'd like, man, that would be a great guest, past, present, or anything that you'd want to have on the I'm from Denver podcast?
Yeah. I mean, like, I can think of a couple people. Like, I mean,
who's on that top 3 maybe, or top 2?
I mean, like, the thing is, like, I have a relationship with some of these people, but I mean, like, I would like to get into it with Adele Arakawa. Like, her and I had a couple promotions together, and so we bonded a little bit. And
I think that's great.
I used to love Adele Arakawa.
I did. I used
to watch the news when I was in college.
Yeah, she's awesome. She had a really good sense of humor about it. So yeah, she'd be somebody I'd like to talk to. And the fact that she's repping the furniture place, and so she still kind of has a presence here.
Yeah. So all right. So is there another person?
Was like Colorado's April from the Ninja Turtles. She was like
100%.
She was pretty. She always did great stories, and you were like,
It's so funny because if Anchorman were real,
I might hit on her.
If Anchorman were real, you would have Adele, you would have like Kathy Sabin, like the Vince Vaughn,
you gotta have Mike Nelson on there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're all going to go battle it out with their pitchforks and their. Kathy Sabin killed a guy.
Yes, I did.
Somebody should do a piece.
Who's from Telemundo? Somebody's got to be from Telemundo.
Right.
Remember in that fight, there was definitely a Telemundo.
There's definitely a Telemundo
and an all access channel.
So good. What were you saying, Larry?
We should do a piece on the first divers at Casa Bonita and now the current divers. I'm sure the first divers are much older.
We have to wonder if that's like
Aren't they been a
who
lot-
trained
yeah.
you? Well, how did you
Yeah,
know?
Right. Have you ever hit the edge?
100%.
Right.
I see, and that's what I'm excited for with the podcast is that I think that that's a good question. To me, I want to go down this weird rabbit hole of, it'd be a good interview. Let's talk to the guy who isn't doing the cliff diving. Let's talk to the guy who taught the cliff divers. Like that to me is so crazy to be
and
like.
Denver, honestly, we want to hear it from you guys. What questions do you guys want us to answer? Because we want to answer them, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. And the sillier, the better, because we want to know about it all. Because honestly, there are people that really want to hear about this stuff, and we want to hear it from you guys.
I think one of the things that we could tackle, and a lot of people have been on this, but we can definitely do our take on it, is getting a full tour of DIA and finding out about all the hidden layers and levels and the Illuminati and all that whole thing.
That's not a problem.
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
So we should take a deep dive into the airport and see if we can debunk some of these rumors.
Okay.
Well, we're going to keep many of these episodes going. I think we're just kind of scratching the surface. It's cool to be live because we're getting this for our audio portion, but we're actually live hanging out with everyone. So once we get to that next step of where we're bringing in audio from the morning show or our own audio, but then we're also being able to bring in guests and then we're able to talk, or Larry goes to DIA, I think it's going to be cool to kind of explore Colorado for what it is and kind of find these hidden treasures, man.
And
Right. Get the gear. You can get the gear on our website. That's cool.
right here,
Right.
guys. This is
Colorado
gear
5280.
right there. This is right off our website. We have
Larry, would
all
you-
kinds of good new merch.
Would either one of you cliff dive if they showed us how to do that?
I would
Hell
do it.
no.
I would definitely do it.
Would you, no, Larry, you wouldn't do
No,
that?
no. But I would like,
Question. I'll do it without learning how to do it. Let's go.
I mean, I'll jump feet first, but I'm not going to dive.
I mean,
yeah,
know what
that's
I
what I mean. Would you jump? Would
Oh, I'll
like,
jump off of it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but not dive.
I'll dive.
Oh,
He'll
my
dive.
God.
I'll do
Yeah,
a
yeah.
flip. Let's go.
Give Jake a few margaritas and he's like jumping
Give
head
him
first.
one
I
margarita
bet
and
it
he's
doesn't
diving
even
on
take
it.
one. Give me 2 margaritas after I belly flop.
Give him
That's
2
more like it.
margaritas. I know.
Hashtag I'm from Denver podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We're out. We'll be back here soon. And hopefully Larry will be cliff diving. I'm going to make that happen, Larry.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I am.